Thank you all. Well, my next question is specifically for those who are participants in the learning communities. In the learning communities, we do something a little different than in a regular university course service learning course. In the learning communities, there are multiple courses, and there is the option in a learning community either to embed the service learning in one course, or 2 courses, or 3 courses, or 4 courses. That's up to the faculty team to decide how that's going to be done. And I'm wondering, in your experience, have you found benefits, problems in one or another of those approaches? How do you do it, and what's worked well for you?
I guess I'll start. I think what we started off with in our community was to embed it in my class, because especially as we're getting started, it was easier to control. It's easier to get set up. As we've gone on, things like Craig's additions have created connections between the 2 classes, and this year our last course is Math 125, the stats course. We're taking some of the things we did in my course. He's carrying it over for analysis in his course, which will ultimately go into the report for the Conservancy at the end. But I guess, going back to your point, it was somewhat of a chaotic process to get there. It's nice to, looking back, we've got order, but in going forward, it was just, let's try this, let's try that, let's see what works. One of the things about the learning communities is you have to be kind of flexible and quick on your feet to find ways to make connections. It changes with the different cohorts we get through. It changes whenever you get different instructors. It just changes as we change our ideas about the classes. So yeah, I guess I would say that it's going to work different ways for different groups, and it won't stay the same for any one community over time.
I think that, I'm sorry, thank you. For us, bridging the service learning project across all 3 classes worked really well, because I think it underscored for the students the importance of the service project. They could see that we were all invested in it and committed to its success. And I think that it also gave students a sense of continuity, because they could connect all 3 classes to the project, and that was helpful for them. And third, as excuse me, a new director, it was very good for me to know that I had colleagues working with me, and if a problem came up, then the 3 of us could tackle it. And I felt that I was supported very well by Dr. Vincent and Dr. Miller. So for us, it worked quite well.
I will provide the counterpoint. Okay, actually, for all of the reasons that Mike described, and for others, we have chosen in the past to house the service learning exclusively within my course. And I will tell you, and maybe shouldn't talk to the potential advantages of the other approach since I'm not familiar with it. But I will tell you, in terms of simplicity, the ability to react to change, the ability to administer, for all of those reasons, it's worked out pretty well. And I will tell you, there is one other way that I think our learning community is probably, I think this is true, different than all of the others. And that is, I would describe us as a loose confederation rather than a, I was very impressed with Leswin's chart where he showed how everything fit together and it was crosswalked and everything else. But we have, over the years, taken a different approach. And I did want to share this with everyone today because I think it's a different way to envision a learning community. And that is, essentially, we determine in the spring, prior to the fall, we determine what the theme for the learning community is going to be. And for example, this past year it was Citizen, Community, Nation. So in our learning community, which is Kiwi-Toss and looks at public affairs, city-state, citizenship, those kinds of things, the disciplines that make up the learning community are history, shaping of the modern world, my course in American national government, and then thinking and writing across the curriculum. And so rather than and again, these are great approaches that I'm hearing, but just to describe an alternative approach, instead of trying kind of to identify common objectives and then build courses around common learning objectives, we each have our disciplinary approaches that look at that theme from through a different lens or series of lenses and from a different angle, and we look for commonality that already exists. And the way that we build the learning community is by selecting reading, selecting evaluated exercises, selecting activities within the course that pull towards that common theme or look at that theme from a different disciplinary direction. And so for all of those reasons, when you think about it, for all of those reasons, it makes more sense and it's much easier to administer the service learning from one course. Having said that, for example, this past fall, we incorporated another choice on our menu of options that really took us in a different direction with the Josh Gibson Foundation, and was very, very powerful for the students who participated in it. But the nice element is that when you have those different options and you have those different disciplinary approaches focused on the same theme, students can walk from one class in American National Government to a class in kind of contemporary history, and they can talk about the same things but in much different direction, or from a much different direction.
So in your case, the service learning was managed in one course, but I think what I heard you say is that other courses in the community could draw from the experience because they knew the students were having this experience and they could then draw from it.
That's right, and and even more so, they were contributing options within it. So might get administered in my course, but they were things that all three of us were building together.
Yeah, the Josh Gibson Foundation, that came out of the writing
That's right.
craft class.
Josh Selesnik did that.
Yeah.
He did a great job.